The first Khalifa, when he came to propose for Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam, the Prophet straight away, according to a hadith, straight away, the Prophet said, she's too young. Some traditions mention that the Prophet went to Fatima to give us an example as well. That your daughter has the right to choose. Don't take that away from her. You may advise as a parent, you may say that, look, I don't know if their family is suitable. I don't know if they're the best for us. That's one angle. But on the other hand, the Prophet does go to Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam. He says to her, Abu Bakr has proposed. The reply was that Fatima had a face of displeasure. And therefore the Prophet went to the first Khalifa and he said to him that, I'm sorry, too young and she does not want to get married. Then who proposes? Umar ibn al-Khattab proposes. And again the reply is what? Again the reply is that she's too young and that there is a certain displeasure on her face. Abd al-Rahman bin Auf, look how many people have proposed for Fatima. But for Fatima, there's only one man she wants to marry. She has absolutely no doubt that this is the man she wants to live the rest of her life with. Abd al-Rahman bin Auf proposes, she doesn't accept until what happens? Imam Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam is too shy to go and propose. And this is something wonderful. There is no problem at all in a man having a certain amount of shyness. Yes? Because in Iraq, when we talk of shyness, we either have someone yastahi or someone may yastahi. We either have someone who is shy like me, or you have somebody who has no shyness whatsoever. You may have somebody who's like, when I propose, everyone should accept me. I am God's gift on earth. How could anyone reject me? Then you have those who are like, wallah, whatever is the qisma masters, they are the best. Whatever is the qisma, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, may He choose for me somebody who is good for my life. Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen had that shyness where he did not want to go to the Prophet and necessarily say something, even though people were telling him. And notice Imam Ali alayhi salam, when he marries Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam, he's in his early 20s. It's an example for us that the younger you get married, the more structure and discipline you have in your life. There's no harm if a person says that I still have not put myself at a level of discipline and structure. But at the end of the day, there is no harm as well a person marrying in their 20s. You grow together, you build together. Imam Ali could have easily turned around and said that, you know what, I'm not rich enough yet. Why should I propose for someone like Fatima al-Zahra when I don't have much? Others were telling him, Baba Amir al-Mu'mineen. They were telling him, oh Ali, go and propose for her. What are you waiting for? Imam Ali would say, not now, wait, not now. There'd be times that he would come to the Prophet. He'd want to say something until Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam does something wonderful. As a father-in-law, he makes life easy for his future son-in-law. Because father-in-laws can be two types. One, he gives you the worst interview when you come to propose for his daughter. Wallah, I've heard some mad stories in my time, to tell you the truth, of some father-in-laws. I don't know if this is an application for a job at a major bank or to get married. The questions that some ask, some father-in-laws have their right. They want to safeguard their daughter's future. There is no problem whatsoever. But the reality is that sometimes you have to ask yourself, where were you at the age of this boy proposing? Were you somebody with the same financial capability at that age as you do have now? So is it therefore fair for you to expect that that person is that capable right from the beginning? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam notices that Imam Ali wants to propose. He tells him, oh Ali, what is it that's on your mind? Mind you, when you have an email connection to the heavens, it helps when you can tell what's going on. So he says to him, oh Ali, what's on your mind? He said, Ya Rasulullah, I would love to propose for Fatima. And so the Prophet turns around to him and says, so what are you waiting for? Propose for Fatima. He says to him, Ya Rasulullah, I don't have much. What can I offer? The Holy Prophet turns around to him and says, do not worry. Calm down, it's okay. When Imam Ali therefore says, okay, I give my proposal, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi goes to Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam. He comes to Fatima al-Zahra, he sits with her. He says to her, O Fatima, Ali the son of Abu Talib has proposed for you in marriage. What is your reply? What did we say before? That in the past there would be signs of displeasure. This time, silence, no displeasure. At that moment, the Holy Prophet said, her silence means her acceptance. And he said to her at that moment, O Fatima, I am marrying you off? No. Rather, God is the one who has engaged Fatima to Ali. Understand this. Why the others were being rejected? Because Allah was the one who was deciding who she should marry. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, God has engaged Fatima to Ali. What did I say in my majlis last night? Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam, her affairs are in the heavens, not on the earth. Other ladies in Medina, their affairs are on the earth. Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam, her light is a light that shines before Adam was created. Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam is someone who the angels communicate with. Therefore, is it exaggerated for a person to expect that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would be the one who says that, O Muhammad, marry Fatima to Ali? Then Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says to Fatima al-Zahra, he said, I am marrying you off to the best person in this world and the hereafter. There is none better than Ali ibn Abi Talib in this world and none better than Ali ibn Abi Talib in the hereafter. He is the most righteous individual you will ever see in your life. From that moment, engagement. How long was their engagement? 10 months. An engagement in Islam can be done in two ways. One way is mut'ah, temporary marriage. As soon as I said that, there's a mad silence that happened in the hall. It's okay. This all Islamic law. One way is temporary marriage, mut'ah. Another way is for an aqd, literal marriage contract to be done. Someone says, hold on. Let's rewind here, said Ammar. I get engaged. How do I get engaged? Because you know very well, if you propose to someone for marriage, and their dad, for example, says yes, you two now want to have coffee with each other, but you're not mahram to each other. No, said Ammar, you don't understand, bro. Say what? Said Ammar, her dad accepted. So, her dad accepted, but that doesn't make it legal. So how do we make it legal? Two options. One option is that we agree a temporary period of marriage. In English, we may call it an engagement period. That engagement period, what is it? The father, for example, will say that I want you to be engaged to my daughter in a temporary marriage. That temporary marriage may be 2 months. That temporary marriage may be 6 months. But that means that you and my daughter are halal to each other. But I can set conditions as to how halal to each other. I can set a condition. Someone says, no, I prefer that they just do nikah for the engagement, or they do the aqd for the engagement. The problem with aqd, contract for the engagement, what if the two of them split up after a week? Your daughter's divorced, having not even lived in the house. Your daughter is divorced. She's counted as a divorcee. Someone says, but what do you mean divorcee? They never even had a wedding. Yes, but you've done a marriage contract for the engagement. That means when it's broken, she's divorced. Why has your daughter got the label of divorce or divorcee when she hasn't even done what? She hasn't even had a wedding and lived with the person. In the Arab culture, normally the engagement is done as an aqd. In other cultures, normally a person will do the mut'ah. Someone says, well, why doesn't everyone do the mut'ah? Many do not do the mut'ah because of the stigma with the word mut'ah. Because the word mut'ah has a stigma, many fathers will not entertain it. Today, therefore, if your daughter is getting engaged, you as a father can turn around and say that what do I want? I want that there is a temporary period where you two can be halal to each other until the day of the wedding. How long should an engagement be? That varies. Some engagements could be 2.5 years. If you're at uni together, you met in the first year, you want to get married, but you can't afford, but you want to be halal to each other, maybe you might do engagement for 2 years. But sometimes a long engagement can also bring about difficulties. Imam Ali alayhi salam was engaged for 10 months to Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam. Until eventually, the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him and his family, said to him, are you ready now for marriage? He said to him, I am. He said to him, then let us agree the mahar, because we know that if there is going to be a contract in Islam, one of the main conditions of a Muslim wedding contract, be it temporary marriage or permanent marriage, is what? Is that the dowry has to be agreed. What is the mahar? He asked him, oh Ali, what can you give for your dowry? Please listen to this important point. This dowry is to provide a safeguarding and economic independence to the lady. That lady may not necessarily work. Her husband is the breadwinner. There is a certain dowry that is paid that is safeguarding her future as well. When he asked Imam Ali alayhi salam, what could you give for the mahar? Imam Ali turned around and he said, for example, I could give my sword, I could give my horse, I could give my armor, my shield. Look at Imam Ali alayhi salam. The gifts that he was giving for mahar were not cheap. They weren't cheap. The mahar of Fatima today in our marriage contracts is a very basic sum. People say, I want mahar of Fatima al-Zahra. But that's not the equivalent of what Imam Ali done. In other words, in reality, if you're just doing mahar of Fatima al-Zahra in exact similarity, what's that going to help the female in economic independence? Tomorrow a divorce happens. We know very well in Islam there is no alimony. Talaq happens. You may give alimony for the iddah period. You may give alimony for the period where she is pregnant in the after talaq. But then after that, that lady who has sacrificed everything, all those years, looking after the children, bringing up the children, looking after your house, talaq is done, she goes, okay, so what's there to provide economic independence for her? The mahar of Fatima today, many of us have underestimated its importance. Imam Ali alayhi salam did not say, like today's money, 500 pounds. Imam said, whatever I own, I'm ready to give to Fatima. That's a certain sum. I have a sword, I have a horse, and I have a shield. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to him, as for your sword, use it, keep it for the protection of the religion. As for your horse, use it to earn an income. As for your shield, sell that shield. When he sold that shield, he got 500 dirhams. Today, you go to a nikah ceremony, and you hear people saying, and the agreed mahar is the mahar of Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam. Mahar of Fatima, how much now? What, 700 pounds? 500 pounds? 800 pounds? So you've given now 800 pounds towards someone's daughter. What's going to happen? And mind you, I've heard some who are so cheap that they'll say, I'll only give you a talaq if you give me my mahar back. Relax, ya wallah, relax. She's been with you as a wife, and she's been a bedrock in your life, and you still want the mahar back. Muslims, when they get married, many of them act like humans. When they get divorced, they act like animals. Muslims, when they get married, you'll see a smile this wide. The moment they're about to get divorced, one of the two, if not the pair, become animals. The Quran said either come back with each other peacefully or divorce peacefully. We've left the Quran. Now all we see, give me my mahar. That's the only way I'll give you talaq. Baba, mahar wasn't for you to blackmail someone. Mahar was for you to provide some sort of security. Whereas for us, we've taken the mahar as what? Here, take this sum. Okay, one day she gets divorced. What's going to look after this girl? Who's going to look after this girl? The girl just goes out to work all of a sudden? Imam Ali alayhi salam, therefore, with Fatima Zahra alayhi salam, what was he ready to do? Whatever I have, Ya Rasulullah, I'm ready to give. I'm not just going to say, can I just give 500 dirham? No, no, no. My shield, if you want, sell it. My sword, I'm ready to sell. My horse, I'm ready to sell. I'm ready to give everything, Ya Rasulullah. At that moment, Rasulullah said to him, do not worry, give the shield. That is the mahar for Fatima Zahra alayhi salam. Once that was agreed, then they came towards the wedding. Some of our traditions in wedding, some of them are culture. Some of our traditions in wedding are religion. There is no problem having culture in a religious wedding. No problem whatsoever. Listen, I've seen some baffling things in my life when I've done nikahs across the world. I done one wedding, I remember they were sprinkling something on the poor groom's head throughout the wedding. I didn't know what was going on. I've had others have to drink milk, touch milk, people throwing water on someone's face. This is not an issue. Culture within religious weddings, there's no problem. As long as the culture does not go outside of the boundaries of the religion of Islam. Because if a person now comes and says that, look, it's our culture back home to bring a DJ and so that we all dance to it, Habibi, keep that culture back home then, you know. Because someone said, but Sayyidina, this is our culture. If we get a belly dance, and it's our culture. We never said there's a problem with culture, unless culture breaks Sharia. Then there's only one winner, and that is what? And that is Sharia. Culture can be there. Baba, you want to bring biryani in your wedding, and you might want to bring quzi in your wedding, and you might want to, wallah, we don't mind those cultures. Someone comes and, for example, throws flowers. What's haram about throwing flowers on somebody? No problem. What if someone came to me and said, part of our culture in the wedding is that we have to walk in with our right foot before the left foot. I said, Habibi, walk in with any foot, you're more than well. Some of these cultures, there is no issue. Was there a culture to Rasulullah when he came for Imam Ali and Fatima Zahra's wedding? Yes. Rasulullah said to Fatima, come here. He sprinkled water on her face. And then he sprinkled some water on her hands and then on her back. And then some of the remaining water, he said to her, drink this water. He done the same for Imam Ali alayhi salam. And then he said to Imam Ali, drink this water. This was part of a culture. What else was culture? Walima. Many of us have a walima. What's a walima? Have a dinner so that the wedding guests are happy by the time they leave. Reality is that 99% of us, when we go to a wedding, are looking forward to the munch. True. About the guy who's getting married. I want to know, is it good food or not good food? I want to make sure by the time I leave, I'm full. There are certain people I've met, they starve themselves the whole day until the wedding. Say, Habibi, you really not going to eat the whole day? Nah, bro. Why? Bro, there's a wedding tonight. Okay, there's a wedding tonight, but what are you expected to do? It's only when you see the mountain called Everest on his plate that you realize that this person cares a lot about that food. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam called Bilal. He said, Bilal, go and get some sheep. Bilal, go and get some barley. Bilal, make a walima so everybody eats at the wedding of Fatima and Ali. Therefore, likewise for us, when we come to our weddings, there is no harm. Your culture, put it in your wedding. Walima, put it in your wedding. Recital of Quran, put it in your wedding. All of these, therefore, took up the wedding. But is the wedding that which makes a marriage? No. There are many who have glorious weddings, but it doesn't make a marriage. What therefore makes the marriage? What makes the marriage with one another is when you have patience with one another in difficult times. When you go through trials and tribulations and difficult times. Did Imam Ali alayhi salam go through trials in his life, in his marriage? Yes, he did. Someone says, Imam Ali goes through trials? Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen, to earn income he used to go water. He was a water carrier. He would go and carry heavy amounts of water. Fatima al-Zahra at the same time used to grind corn. Fatima would grind corn to help her husband and the family make ends meet. She could have easily turned around and said, do you know whose daughter I am? I am the daughter of the Prophet. What do you mean you're making me work? Because there are some who will say these things. That what do you mean you're telling me to do this? You're right. Ladies, Muslim ladies in a marriage are not obliged to clean. They are not obliged to cook. They are not obliged to do a lot of things which husbands think they are obliged to. No. These things where a husband says, why are you not cooking or cleaning? A Muslim lady can charge for cooking and cleaning. By the way, don't get any ideas on this. Otherwise, you'll make all these guys bankrupt. But when it comes to working, maybe the ends for them to meet, a mortgage has to be paid, a person finds an economic climate which is difficult. Imam Ali and Fatima al-Zahra found it hard to make ends meet. And Imam Ali found it hard to go and tell the Prophet that things were difficult. So what did Imam Ali used to do? He used to carry water. Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam used to grind the corn. But they loved the combination of supporting each other. There's no harm. I see my husband sweating and he's coming home with a lawful earning, that's enough for me. Until one day, he looked at her hand, he saw there were blisters all over her hand. He said to her, what are these blisters? She said, the grinding of the corn is hurting me. He said to her that your father has certain captives who have come from some battles. He said to her, then go towards your father. Ask him that one of these captives from war, why don't we get them to be one of the servants in our house? She would go towards her father. She'd sit next to him. She'd think about asking. She wouldn't ask. She'd come the next day. She wouldn't ask. Third time, she wouldn't ask. Imam Ali alayhi salam said, what's wrong? She said, you know what? I find it difficult to ask my father, knowing the pressures that my father is going under at the moment in Medina. At that moment, Imam Ali alayhi salam, when he told the Holy Prophet, peace be upon his family, that we're facing difficulties in our marriage life. My dear brothers and sisters, it's fine economically. Not every marriage has to be keeping up with the Joneses. 1 year you may not go the same holidays that you want to go. The honeymoon that your friend has put on Facebook or Insta, wallah, sometimes the grass is green on the other side. I know it all looks rosy and they look like they're having the best Maldives honeymoon that anyone could ever have. Sometimes they could afford it, you may not. Don't compare your marriage to theirs. There are times where you need at that moment to support one another. So even Imam Ali alayhi salam went to Rasulullah, and Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa turned around. What did he say? He could have easily said, okay, you know what, you're my daughter, you're my son-in-law, I'm going to favor you. You know what he turned around and said? Ashab al-Suffa. Suffa was a ledge, an area where the poor would sleep in Medina. He said, they are more in need than you and Fatima. So I cannot give you two when there are some who need much more. At that moment, Imam Ali and Fatima al-Zahra turned around. They said, we are pleased with whatever you are pleased with. And that's where he came to Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam. He said to her, oh Fatima, I will give you something better than a servant. And she said, what is it? He said that Jibreel taught me a tasbih. And this tasbih will be more helpful to you and your house than any new servant. What is it? 33 times Subhanallah. 33 times Alhamdulillah. 34 times Allahu Akbar. What do we call it today? The tasbih of who? Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam. After Salah, Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam says that if a person recites the tasbih of my grandmother Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam, as soon as they finish Salah, the fire of hell will never touch that person. Why the fire of hell? Isn't that a bit too much of a reward? Because most of us, when we finish Salah, we want to jump up and watch the game. True. As soon as I finish Salah, I want to go jump. I want to go and do something. It's very difficult to spend an extra couple of minutes when it comes to salah. And I'll discuss this when I come to discussing Fatima al-Zahra's viewpoint on the power of salah in the forthcoming lectures.